Well, hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to the stream, and chapter 3, working on that guy right there. That is our 1998 Firebird Ram Air by Revell Monogram. We'll run the intro. We'll get started. Okay guys, we are back and we're going to continue on the build. Obviously last time we got a little bit more done on our engine. We got our engine looking with some black accents on there, and we did a bunch of chopping on the T-roof and got that taken care of. In the meantime, I've done, we also got the chrome stripped off of our exhaust and our wheels. Now please forgive me for this. I did a little bit of work off camera because I just couldn't help myself, to be honest. I just wanted to work on it. And so I did primer the rims black. Okay, so my rims are black. They're not aluminum yet, but they're black. And I did a whole bunch of work on the T-roof in preparation for this because I wanted to kind of get a feel of exactly what I need to do and how I'm going to do it and blah 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 blah. And so yeah, so we're going to focus on more of the detail on the T-roof today and maybe get a couple of little things put together also. Okay, so let's just change the camera and my glasses and let's get this taken care of. So first thing I want to do, since this is just staring me in the face, is our brake booster, which is two pieces that needs to go together like so with our clutch and brake pedal. I want to get these together so that I can just focus on the seam on the booster. We should not be able to see a seam. Obviously I've got some black overspray paint on this, but that's fine. So it's just a matter of lining it up and letting that sit. Okay, so that's done. Obviously another thing I've done is I took the exhaust pipe off of the sprue and I did a bunch of scraping along the lines there. You might be able to see a little bit of a white line in along that aluminum color, maybe especially along in here, where you got where the seam met and you got a seam going across there. So I want to get rid of that seam, so I just went along scraping with my knife all the way along the edge like this and cleaned up that seam there, so that our pipe looks like a nice rounded pipe and not some kind of a squished together two halves. So just do that, go around there and give it a feel. If it feels round, that's great. If it doesn't feel round, then it needs more work. And that's much better. And do a little bit on here, on this side. Okay, around everything, every part. The other thing I did, here's our muffler. I took that off the sprue, obviously. And I took a drill and I drilled the hole out. Okay, so that actually is like a pipe now. I went in, let's see if I can find something to stick in the hole here. Well, that's too big. How about this? Too big. This. So I went in about that far, so maybe about 3/4 of a centimeter in that deep. So when you look in there, that's going to be black inside there anyway, so we're not really going to see, but that's the main point, is to have that actually hollow and to look like an actual pipe. That's the main point of that. Okay, what else did I do? Well, if we switch my focus back to the T-roof, we have this. So you can kind of see what I've got going on here. So I cut out the center piece between our two pieces of glass. Our two pieces of glass, right? There's one, and here's the other. Okay, that was on this side, right? So these were connected together like this with that section. I cut that out and I re-glued it back in there. Okay, and then what I did is I took some styrene took some styrene, which is this stuff here. I don't know, I don't have the package for this anymore, but it's really super thin. Like you can see, that's thin stuff. Very thin, okay? Yeah, very thin stuff. So I basically just went underneath here, traced the curve, and then cut myself a little bit of a width, and you can see where I've glued it in on the inside here. Okay? Now in doing so, I realized I might have some interference with our rear window, right? I might have interference with the rear window. So to prevent the interference with the rear window, if I can find it here, I kind of trimmed out the edge here a little bit better. Remember, we just had it going straight across. It was just straight like this before, right? Well, I trimmed that off and just went around our little dome light that's in there. And so now, when I put this in, it falls right through. No, when I put this in, like this, she fits perfectly, and my dome light sits like that. And you know, our interior is going to be all black anyway, so that's not going to be noticeable. This is all going to be black, and so even still, even if you do look in there, it's going to be all black. You're not going to see it. You're not going to notice. So there's that. So why do I have these clips on the front then, if that's what I did? Because I've done the same thing on the front. I took my piece of styrene and I actually went over my front windshield like this and held it up to the light so I could get that curve, and I just drew a line there. Then I cut it out, and then I put it on here, and then I traced it with my pen or with my Sharpie, and then I cut it that wide so we have that thickness there. And right now I'm just holding it with the clips. I haven't glued it yet. I wanted to wait until I actually got you guys on camera so that you could see me do this whole process. Okay. Now, one thing I've already noticed, I don't have it going quite all the way here, so I want to shift this just a little bit if I can. If I can move this just a little bit. It's a little delicate, but let's just remove that. Remove this. And see if I can just slide it a little bit. Let's just let it go here just a hair. There we go. That's better. Now it's lining up. So why do I have 3 clips? Because I want it to match the curve. As best as I can get it, I want it to match the curve of the window. There we go, that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to add this clip here again. And re-add this one. Double check here, that looks pretty good. There's good. It's better to have excess. It's better to have too much than not enough, right? So now I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to run some glue along our edge here and here. Flip her over. Make sure we've got it here on this edge and here. The edges are important. Once this has had a minute or two to dry, then I'll add some more glue, but that's where we're just going to let it sit. Now I already have a piece kind of trimmed off to go underneath in the center, but I want to wait till this is all glued and cured. So I might even wait till tomorrow, or I might just wait an hour. I might wait 20 minutes, I don't know. But now we're just going to let this sit, put this aside and let that dry, okay? And we will go back to focusing on our actual build here, okay? So let's just move my body out of the way. I don't want my body in my way. Okay. All right. So we have our radiator assembly already assembled. It's just not painted yet. Okay. It's just not painted. Our engine assembly, this part is done. That's this guy right here. He's done. And we have our oil fill tube. That's been installed right there. And we have the front of the engine. That's done. But we need to do fan belts and exhaust manifolds. So let's grab our fan belts, shall we? So we need number 54 and number 153. So it looks like I got one right here. This would be the 153. I kind of already started painting it a little bit. But I clearly need to do a little bit of touch up on this. I think I'm going to have the lower pulley is going to be gloss black, while the upper pulleys are aluminum. I believe that was my plan when I first started painting these. And especially our idler pulleys are going to be aluminum, because they 99% of the time they are. With this sprue being almost done, I'm just going to trim this down a little bit, like that. Just to make it a little smaller and fit in my garbage better. Okay, so now I need to get number 54. I need that sprue. So let's find 54. Here we are. Number 54 is this guy right here. So yes, I already pre-painted it on the sprue, and so I am going to have to touch up the spots where it was connecting to the sprue, but that's quite alright. That is quite alright. Let's just clean up our little nubs here. I'm going to have to touch up not only the rubber black for the fan belts, but the aluminum on the pulleys themselves. Okay. So, using rubber black on the pulley, or yeah, no, on the belt. We got aluminum on the pulleys, and I want to use a gloss black. I'll use LP1 on the main crank pulley. Now, what's kind of interesting about this is hollow, and I don't know why. I want to do a little test fit on the block here. See how this goes on here. It looks like this one goes like that. Oh, that's the crank pulley. Okay, so it goes like that. This one's for the smog pump. And then this guy goes like this. So our two pulleys actually go together on top of each other. And she's going to sit, when she's all complete, she's going to sit like that. And that's how she's going to look when she's all done. But our bottom pulley, I think, should be gloss black. It seems to be a very common thing in cars of this era, is to have your crank pulley would be gloss black. So, let's grab a little paintbrush, shall we? Let's grab a little one here. If I can get this out of here, what's wrong with you? Why are my paintbrushes jammed in here? Oops, I'll find that later. So first thing I want to do is paint my pulleys black, or the one pulley. It's really one pulley, but the way they've designed it, it's two pieces. So let's get this big one first. Let's give you a little nice. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that once it's all assembled, you're not really going to notice it very much. It's going to be really hard to see. So little details like the gloss black and the flat black nature of the belt. In the comparison of the two, it's not going to be very visible, and that's the unfortunate thing about stuff like this. Okay, so that's that one. Now my little ring here, which goes over top of that. Now, if I was building this car with the assumption that it was like some kind of a show car, or somebody had souped it up or something like that, did some custom work, then I would consider painting the pulleys chrome, because very often that's what guys do, is they buy a chrome pulley set and give their engine a little bling. I'm not sure how much of the inside of this is visible, but just in case, when it's all said and done, I don't want any of the white plastic, or actually my gray primer, showing through, so I might as well paint it. Okay, so the gloss black is done. Now I'll just clean this up like that, and let's get some rubber black and touch up our fan belts. Now this is the kind of thing that you guys don't usually see, because I usually leave this part out of my videos because, well, a lot of you guys who watch my videos, you already know how to paint. You know what the painting process is. There's that one. This bottom belt is actually quite wide. Okay, and top. Here we go. Okay, so our rubber black is done. And where I did a little fudge up on our aluminum is where I need to touch up now. Not so much on this belt system, but this one I need to do a little touch up on my idler pulleys. What I'm actually going to do to help myself out a little bit here. Doink. Doink. My idler pulleys need a little loving touch up here. There we go. Better. Better, better, better. Okay, so let that sit and let those dry for a minute. I will clean my brush properly now that I'm done. All right, so this one's going to go on first. And just like we already determined, it's going to sit right there, like so. And I'm just going to fast forward this. Okay, so let's get some glue. Glue on there, glue in the center. Okay, just a little more. There we go. Okay, and that's that. It's kind of funny, this pulley doesn't quite line up with this one. I think that's supposed to be where this mounts, but it doesn't. See that? Doesn't quite line up with that bottom one. But realistically, who really cares, right? Okay, so then we have our top one going over top like this. And we got one that's going to line up with our alternator here. And it also lines up with our water pump, and with our idler pulley up top here lines up too. So we've got multiple points where this is all should line up. Once this is dry, I'm going to get in the center of this with some gloss black. I believe that would be prudent. I want to press that down and hold you on there. Our power steering pump pulley, although it's impressive that they actually have it on there, it doesn't really line up either, but it's pretty good. And I need to do a little touch up on the back of it because it's actually visible. It's actually, you can see the back of the pulley right here. And yeah, we need a little touch up on that too. And that's it. So there's our pulley system for the front of the motor. Okay, looking pretty good. So set that aside, and we'll get our exhaust manifolds, number 77 and 78. Let's find those back here. These two here, I've already painted them aluminum. They need a little bit of love on them as far as weathering goes, and a little cleanup, I think, on the, to get rid of some extra pin marks. And I'm going to do the same thing with this sprue. We're just going to shrink it down a little bit, as there's nothing in this section that I need. Okay, let's have a look at these. See how there's quite a bit of flashing on this stuff that I just painted over the flashing, but now I need to clean it up. Especially where this, like this part here, which is going to connect to our exhaust, right? This is eventually going to wind up mating up to this like that, which is really kind of strange, having such a huge collector going to just this one little pipe. So it's not this one, right? That's the other side. There's no way that ain't going to work. It's definitely going onto that. Assuming everything lines up, it's going onto that. This one will go onto this. Like this. So anyway, clean up all this flashing that we got going on here. Which, you know, one thing when you're dealing with exhaust manifolds like this, you know, these things are just made of cast iron 99% of the time. And so you can kind of, if you ever seen cast iron exhaust manifolds, they don't look that pretty at all. And so you can say, you could really realistically say the flashing on here is the cast iron mold, because the cast iron molds for exhaust manifolds are not the cleanest things. And that's just the way they are, because it's just cast iron. So that means, why am I talking about all this cast iron and cleaning up? Because these are going to get a little bit of rusty. These things get rusty fast. It doesn't really matter how old your car is. The car could be brand new. If it's got cast iron exhaust manifolds, they're going to get rusty quick. So the little pins in them should help us line up with their holes on the heads, and then just have them sit like this. Now I want to put glue on them so that they stay, but then I have to line them up with the exhaust, so I have an idea of the position they should be in. You know what I mean? Because this has to sit at a certain angle, and just having it like this is probably not accurate. It probably has to sit angled out a little bit like this. So that kind of thing is important. So I want to kind of line it up as best as I can like this first, and kind of hold it. Let's get some glue on that. I already know it's going to want to just sit flat on the head and not really cooperate very much, but that's okay. So I can let that sit for a minute like this. Okay, and that's probably pretty close to where I need it, but probably not exact. So do the same. Those two little holes there, we'll just line up our pins like that. Of course, I knock it loose just by trying to apply the glue. Okay, so we're going to see how the exhaust fits on this. If it lines up pretty close, then I'm happy. And this one does need to pull out just a little bit. That. That's pretty good. Yeah, so it lines up pretty close. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we can let that dry. I'll add a little more glue to this one since we have moved it around a little bit. Let's do one more check. Yeah. Assuming that the chassis has everything lined up good, we're going to be good with that. Okay, so this needs to dry before I really play around with it. Which now, it's been what? What's it been? It's been 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. This should be good enough that I can let it go. And that should hold. And we've got no gaps, so that is looking good. All right. So I can now focus on the centerpiece and getting that laid in there. So I kind of measured this one out a little bit, but not 100%. And I put a little bit of a curve on the front of it to try and match the curve on this. So when I glue this in, it's pretty close. If I have to shave a millimeter off of that, then that's fine. Let's see here. Looks like I will have to shave just a hair off of that for it to go flat in there. So let's just shave a little tiny hair off of that. Let's try that. Is that close enough to a hair? Is that a hair? Pretty close, right? That hair was absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Just like that. So we're going to clamp it here. I want it in the center, so I'm going to put a clamp here. And unfortunately it moved when I put the clamp on, but that's okay. Let's just adjust that. There we go. And I'll put another clamp at the front here. There we go. We got equal amounts on both sides. No, we don't. So I want to move this one over. I want to move it over just a little bit. Oh, too much. There we go. Oh, there, perfect. That's perfect. Just like that. All right. So we'll get some glue on that. On both sides. It's very important. All right. And now with our clips out of the way, I can add some glue to the forward edge on this one. It's going from the Okay, so you guys who were watching me on my last video, when I got kind of tired of using the mechanical saw to cut along the front, and I grabbed my hand boost ultrasonic knife, and I wound up, as I was coming along here with it, I got to here and I actually went through to the front, and I wound up cutting it in half. So I've re-glued it here. I don't know if the camera will really show. I re-glued it there, but it doesn't look very nice. So I'm gonna have to be adding some stuff to that. Okay. The other thing I did is I grabbed a piece of this styrene, my super thin stuff, and I traced along this curve, and I cut out a very small little strip of it, and I put it along this forward edge here to give me a nice solid frame to work with, right? So I've got more than just that edge, more than just this in there. And this will get cleaned up too, and this one will get molded into this here. Okay, we're going to do all that. Another thing I have an idea for the weather stripping that's supposed to go around that is I have some very, very small round styrene strips. This very, very small, it's round, okay? It's round. Trust me, it's round, okay? The camera doesn't want to focus, but it's round, okay? It's round. And it's nice and small, and we're going to go all the way around our T-top with it. Because it's so small, we can actually bend it. We can go do a nice little bend like this, right? And we can get in there. Okay, so this will bend, and we can get it in there and get in those corners, right? Do I want to do a sharp bend? Do I want to actually, let's just see, let's look at for the snapping point on this. What snapping point? It doesn't want to snap. I can almost... Look at that. Still not even... It's not, still not breaking. Look at that. Look at how tight that bend is, and it's not breaking. Okay? So I could get that in there and go right in there like this. Right? And that'll be perfect. Okay? But that's going to be later. You can only do one step at a time. You got to let stuff dry, and that's just the way it is. So let's put this aside again and go back to this. So they want us to put the engine into the chassis already. So here's our chassis. Now I've already kind of test fit this before, and I already know that our engine mounts here and here, they tuck up inside here and here, right? Because I've already kind of test fit this before. So I know that's where it goes. We also have a pin in the back of our transmission that goes into this hole here. So there you go. That's how you line it up to get your forward and back. And that's how our engine's going to sit, just like that. Okay? She's going to sit like that. Am I ready to put the engine in yet? I don't know. I really don't know. And I think because I want to paint the chassis the same color as the car, which is going to be white, but I can't paint it white if I got the engine mounted. So this has to wait. The engine being mounted will have to wait. We're going to have to just do that another time. I might as well just leave it like this. Let's see what's on the next page. Step 2 would be putting your radiator hose in, upper and lower, then putting in the exhaust. It's kind of funny that they want you to paint these parts aluminum, but then the pipes are steel. Then chrome muffler, and then paint the inside of the exhaust tip flat black. That's funny that they actually tell you that. In the meantime, we got wheel assemblies that I'm not ready to do. We got rear end assembly that I'm not ready to do. I got a whole bunch of stuff to do, and I'm not ready yet. One thing I want to skip ahead. Okay, let's skip ahead. Something I can do. I need to skip ahead to do it. I want to work on the interior. Let's get to the interior parts. Because the interior is going to be all black, I want to get to painting that, which means I need to assemble some of this stuff. So, we actually have the decals for our instrument gauges, but we don't want to do that yet. I can't do any of this because we need to paint it all. And I'm definitely not putting the dash in yet. Let's see here. Here we go. Our interior bucket. Let's just put this aside. Our interior bucket. We can put our door panels in. That's what I'm going to do. Here's our bucket. Here's door panel number 1. Where's door panel number 2? Are you still in the box? Yes, you are. Door panel number 2. I want to get these in. I don't want to paint them outside of the everything. We're going to do the seats too. I'm going to get these prepared. We're going to get everything kind of prepared for paint. Okay. Okay. Stop asking if it's okay and just do it. Right? 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 Right. Okay. Steering wheel will be done later. In the meantime, we have all this stuff here now. Little nub marks that need to be cleaned up. This is all primered, obviously, it's all gray. This is all going to be black, guys. The whole thing. But it's not going to be just regular black. We're going to paint our interior NATO black. What, NATO black? Are you serious? NATO black? Why NATO black? It's not an airplane or a tank or anything. No, it's not. Definitely not. But as far as black colors go, the NATO black color is going to be a dark enough black that it looks like a black interior of a car. As you look at interior of a car, it doesn't really look, even a black interior, not everything is just total dark black, right? You can see details because you get different shades of black with the different materials that your interior has, right? And that's totally normal. And so the NATO black color is going to allow me to have everything black, and yet you'll be able to see detail. And I can actually use that to my advantage when it comes to something like, say, something that is vinyl in comparison to cloth, right? So, door panels, they're going to go in pretty simple. They slide down into these little holes here with this tab. And it looks like you got a little tab here to help you, and tab here to help you line it up on how far down they should go. So that's fairly straightforward and simple, and thank you. So we can add our glue in all of our different spots, just like so. I want to run a bead down here too. That's another reason why I want to do this before painting, is because I can run the glue in there without really disturbing my paint job. Okay, and just for added measure, I'm going to clip that like that. Because I want it tight against there, and I want it to stay. Okay. I don't necessarily want it tight here. I don't want this squeezed in, because that might make it look funny when it's in the body. Okay. So let's get our other side here. This slid down into its spot. It does just kind of stay on its own. It's a tight fit. Why they didn't do this as one mold, I don't know. Like why they have you actually put in this as a separate piece, I don't know. Do they think they're giving you more detail by doing that? I really don't know. I'm not sure what their thinking was when doing that. Okay, so our door panels in. Those can sit while we take care of our seats. Now obviously our seats got to go in here. It's kind of funny. We've got two holes in the back of our front seat, but no pegs or anything to line that up. It just goes like this. It just fits in there, and that's it. And I'm glad that I'm doing this now, because the gap that is in this requires a little bit of putty to fill it in. So once this is dried a little bit, I want to put some putty in here and fill in that gap. Okay. Especially this side here where we've got a little bit of a unsightly little nub. This guy. You. Let's put that in there. All the way around. secure the bottom. There we go. Okay. And there's that. All right. Now, we have a shifter that's got to go into our center console. Let's grab that one, number 15. Let's see if I can find number 15 somewhere here. All right, is 15 on his one? Nope. Let's see. Number 15, shifter assembly. Nope. 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 Here we are. Found it, number 15. I was actually quite surprised when I saw this kit, and I saw the brake booster, and the brake booster has a clutch and brake pedal on it. And well, right away to me that says, hey, this thing is got a standard transmission and not automatic, which was really common in this era of cars. An automatic transmission in the mated to the 350 engine, or sorry, 5.7 liter, as they called them back then. They still refer to them in their liters rather than their cubic inches. But I was surprised to find out that this had a standard transmission. I was under the impression, at least in the early 90s, with the Camaros, this peg doesn't want to fit in the hole, so I gotta open up this hole a little bit. Let's see if I got a drill bit that's ready to open that up. That'll definitely do it. Just a little bit. It's probably perfect amount for that to fit in there now. Yes, thank you very much. But I still need to clean up the parting seam on this because it looks too unnatural. So, what was I saying? Back in like 1990, the two biggest competitors for horsepower and speed in the American roads back in 1990 was the Mustang and the Camaro. In particular, the Mustang 5 liter and the Camaro 350, or maybe you could say the IROC Z, or IROC Z if you're American. The Mustang, with its 5 liter engine and 225 horsepower, you could get it with a standard transmission. But the Camaros, if you got the 350 engine or 5.7 liter, you were stuck with an automatic because it made too much power for the Chevy standard transmissions of those days. They couldn't handle the torque, and so you had to get it with an automatic. So seeing in 1998, you could, if this is true, if you could get a Firebird with that same engine but with a standard transmission, that's pretty cool. Obviously by 1998, Pontiac, or GM anyway, had come up with a way to actually have a transmission survive the torque of their 350 engine or 5.7 liter. Okay, so our seats, this is just basically gonna go in right there. This is kind of a weird setup that they have here, because it looks like we're supposed to slot in underneath there, almost like this. Like the way this little notch is. You see that? The way that notch is there, it looks like, see how that is there? It looks like that's supposed to kind of slot in underneath that, and yet it does not. And if I just look under here, it just sits like that. So the seat's really sitting on a weird angle. This is fun. They do show it kind of tucking under, but not really. I'm not sure. If I do it this way, the seat is really sticking up off the floor. If I do it this way, then it's sitting high. It's kind of... this part, okay. So it's this section right here that tucks under it, not this. This is supposed to tuck underneath that. So that part, we slide it like this. Oh, it kind of almost tucks in there like that. And that actually holds it in there. That is kind of neat. So this tucks into the front, and then this pushes down into the back of the hole and holds the seat in place. That's kind of actually a neat idea, but we're not doing that. We're going to put our back seat in. Our back seat has two little things here to go on these two little pegs, and then this little tab is supposed to notch in on that front hole. Let's see how this lines up. And if it is getting onto those pegs, it's a very tight fit. So what I'm going to do is open these holes up a little bit. Let's just do this. I'm going to open my holes. What I'm going to do. Let's put that in there. Oh, perfect. So now it sits down right nice and flush with the back there. And it also tells me that I need to paint under here. See, I never primered the underside of the seat. But that's probably going to be visible through the undercarriage. Let's grab our undercarriage here. If we put this in, now this doesn't actually slot in anywhere, it kind of just sits like this, but we turn this over and look at that big white section where the back seat is, right? So this kind of has to all be painted as one, right? So that tells me I need to primer this back seat. So before I do anything, I'm just going to quickly grab some spray. I'm just going to use this stuff here, Mr. Surfacer 1500 gray, and I'll just quickly spray that. And that's good enough. Just get some primer on there so that when I do paint it, it's all going to match. That's the important thing, is that it's when you paint it, it's going to match. So I think I can glue this in. So what I want to do is get some different glue, get my thicker stuff, and put it on our pegs here, like this and like that. And now, put it in that front slot, put her down, just like this, give her a bit of a squeeze. Now, glue in the front here. And I want to put glue along the back here. want that to be glued down. I don't want to just rely on those pegs to hold everything. Now I want to clamp this down. I want to use a bit of a clamp on it, something I can get in there and hold it in there on both sides. I don't want to rely just on one side. There we go. All right. So that's going to be glued in. We're going to just leave that. And I'm going to get some putty for our seats, our front seats. Before I get going, we're going to add some putty to our seats. We're going to go around our edge here. I'm not going for, I don't care about eliminating the seam line. The seam line's okay. What I'm eliminating, what I want to eliminate is the hole. That's what I want to eliminate. Around the whole thing, just like that. That's good. Put our lid back, and then let's grab our paper towel and give it a wipe. Now in doing so, you might open up the hole again, okay, which I did, and that's okay because we'll just go and we'll add more. The reason I'm doing this is to get rid of the excess so that I don't have to sand it all down. This stuff is water-based, and so as it dries it will shrink, and so it will retain the panel line so what I can do, because I just did a little bit, I can wipe with my finger. Just do that. Wipe, wipe, done. And because it's water-based, you can just clean up with water, or do like what I did and just wipe it off with a cloth. It's water-based, so it cleans up easy. So there we go. So I got that done. So I'll hit these with a little more primer in a little bit once that's had some time to dry, and then we can do other things. Okay. The other thing they want us to do is put our brake booster in right there. And this is something I just test fit this the other day, and I thought this was funny. So we already have our throttle, our accelerator pedal there, right? We put our brake booster in, and it just slots in right here. And our brake pedals are sitting so high off the floor compared to our gas pedal. It's really funny looking. Like they're really, like they should be so, I would think they'd be so much longer with our gas pedal being like that. But I don't know. Maybe they were tall like that. I really don't know. It's cool that they actually have them like that. That is a neat little detail. But that is kind of where I think we're going to be done for today, as far as that goes. I think I just need to let things dry now and see where we get. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, this should be dry enough that I can let it go. Let it go, let it go. Yes, looks good. Okay, so now I've got a good base for my weather stripping for the T-roof. So we can go along the edge like this. Now having a little extra is no big deal. Now I went and bent this. This section's now useless to me. Okay. So what you can do is kind of measure out how much you need. give her a bend. And I'll just give her a nice sharp bend, like so. And then bend it back to 90 degrees, because that's where we're at. Because we're going to glue this down, and she's going to be glued a little bit in sections and glued like this. Okay? To give ourselves our weather stripping. For the front, we're actually going to do it as a separate piece, I think. It's going to be a little too hard to, well, it might be too hard, it might not. If I measure like this and bend it right there. This is also kind of a 90 degree right there. So it's got to be sharp also. This is all trial and error, guys. I've never done this before, so I'm learning as I go with this. So we've got a pretty good fit, actually. And I bring that down. We're going to need I'm just going to trim this off right about here. Okay. So, let's try clamping this down. Let's see. Right there. It's not really holding it. I don't want to put any clamp on there that's too harsh. So I think what I should do is just start with the back. But I don't want to. I want to bend this down. It's lovely. This stuff is awesome in that you can kind of mold it and bend it. I want this to be bent a little bit like this. So that it kind of conforms a little better for me. And this bending down. So that it's a little more willing to stay in its spot as I get it in there. If this will stay down, I need that down into that little channel. That's where I need it. Okay, let's try a little glue here. I need this to be held down and in there. This is where the things might take a little bit of time and some patience. If I let go now, what's it going to do? Lift it a little bit, but that's okay. The front edge, I think, is going to be the one that gives me the most headache. The back edge is going to be okay on its own, I believe. But the front edge, I need that to be in there and stay down. need you to stay down until the end of time. Like that. Yes. Okay. Now for the back, you need to be glued against the edge here, like so. It's definitely a lot more willing on this, on the back edge, to stay where I put it. Let's move down a little bit. That might be all I need for the back part. Let's see if I let go. She's holding. Okay. So I just have to kind of wait and do this slowly and go along. I've got to have this part go down the edge a little bit. But I want to let this cure before I try and bend it, because as I try and bend this down, this part's going to want to lift up. So we just got to kind of wait now. All right. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Okay. When we come back, as you know, as time goes by, the next time you see me, I may have this side done. All right, and have to do the passenger side. The seats will have some primer on them. I'll do some primer off camera, but for the most part, that's going to be about it. So that is where I'm going to leave it today, guys. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for coming out. Thank you for joining me on this. Even if this particular build isn't your cup of tea, I do appreciate the views. I appreciate that you're willing to watch anyway. And also, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if you feel like it. I love to read your comments. And yeah, thanks again for the support, guys. And we'll see you all in the next one.